Good evening, everyone, and welcome also people down under. We've got a lot of people from the other side of the world joining us today, so we've got a great schedule with Keith McPherson, our Associate Director of Sports Labs, who's going to go through the philosophy of ProPitch. We've got the self-assessment kits, the app and portal. We've also got then Dean Gillespie, International Director of Pitch Management, an IOG award winner, to run through the trend graphs and how to use the data, and remote support. And we've also got the stadium case studies to run through throughout the presentation. We've also got Will Bowden, our New Zealand partner, joining us, and he's going to run through some case studies and the value it brings to clients down under as well. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Keith McPherson to take away the presentation.
So good evening, everyone, or good morning, depending where you are in the world. My name's Keith McPherson. I'm Associate Director of Sports Labs ProPitch. And I'm on the webinar this evening just to talk to you about the background and philosophy of ProPitch, and how the various services that we offer as a company. We've always had a kind of mantra or saying at the heart of ProPitch that if you can measure it, you can manage it. And by that, we obviously mean collecting data on the pitch and then making informed decisions using obviously skills that you have as ground staff, but also from the data that your pitch can give you, and really using all the tools to gain that data. And really important, it's always been the heart of our kind of system. It's designed by ground staff for ground staff. So Dean, who'll be speaking to you shortly, is obviously before working with ProPitch has held various positions as a groundsman, and that's really key to what we do at ProPitch, because we feel like we have a good connection with the ground staff when we work with clubs, stadiums, and venues, and having that hands-on experience is really valuable. And then taking, I suppose, a science approach to collecting data and really putting that into the decision-making process of a stadium pitch or of any playing surface. So we'll go on a little bit to talk about the services we offer quickly. So we're not just a testing company. Like our parent company, Sports Labs, who do a lot of testing and certification. ProPitch also get involved in strategic planning, so pitch inspections, feasibility studies, budgets, procurement, usage, and event monitoring. And something that was really key to what we do is tournament delivery. So the guys will go into tournaments, Asia Cup, Club World Cup, UEFA Champions League stuff, big tournaments like these, and really help the stadiums deliver the best tournament that they can, by assisting the ground staff. We've also got our quality assurance. Obviously, that's really at the heart of the ProPitch system, and we'll go on and talk about that in a bit more detail in a minute, and the tests and the apps and the portals that we have. We've also then got maintenance, so we can do independent maintenance programs. We've got Ian Craig as well in the team, fertilizer, pesticide, turf enhancement programs, and troubleshooting for surfaces, all well within our capabilities. And then another big part of the business, obviously, design and construction, so our consultancy on that side of things, along with the services that ProPitch are able to offer. We really complement each other with ProPitch and the consultancy department being able to do feasibility studies, site work management, specifications, and really the whole package all the way through design and construction. And then again, another really important one, the last one, education and training. It's something that Dean and Ian and everyone at ProPitch is really passionate about, actually giving back into the industry and imparting knowledge. And a lot of the work that guys do when they're on tournament delivery is surrounding education of ground staff as well. So, we're not always working in the most elite facilities and with the really, best pitches, and we're trying to bring up the ground staff to the best level they can be. And sometimes it can be the most simple thing, just a little bit of advice from Dean or Ian, and that brings them on immeasurably. And we really enjoy that. So I guess today is more about, from my side, is kind of letting you know about our new app and portal, so our online services and how that complements. So, you can follow the traditional ProPitch model, which I guess is our ProPitch 18, our ProPitch 15 assessments that tend to be undertaken by our consultants, just because you'll see from the table here that you need a little bit of kind of specialist equipment at the top end when you've got ball roll, ball rebound, and the AAA devices to measure shock absorption, deformation, and energy restitution of surfaces. But if you have the kit, it's still achievable, and you can do it on the app and the portal. We've also got our self-assessments, which are really designed for the guys on the ground to be able to gather data that's valuable data. It means something to you, and it means something to our team as well, and we can then help advise based off that data. So you'll see there in the self-assessment column, you've got some pretty traditional agronomy items and also some pretty traditional physical tests, things like clegg for hardness, traction, rotational resistance, surface levels, moisture, and then grass percentage, weed grasses, height of cap, thatch, roots, and so on. We also got bespoke assessments. So the great thing about the ProPitch system is that we can actually bespoke assessments to you guys. So if you're looking just for a clegg assessment, that's something the system can handle, and through the app and the portal, we can actually set up just a clegg assessment if you want to go out and do X number of clegg results, X number of locations across the pitch, and that's what you want to do every day of the week. That can be set up, and then you might want to do a self-assessment once or twice a month. And there's infinite numbers of combinations of those assessments. You could have clegg and insects, or you could have moisture and grass percentage. It really is endless. So in terms of self-assessment option, I guess it's the most relevant one to everyone without spending big money on AAAs and all these devices. We've come up with a kit that we feel it's a standard kit in two options. You've got groundsman kit at an accessible price. It's in line with market prices, and because of the volume of kit we're buying, we're fortunate to get a little bit of a discount on things like clegg hammers and moisture meters, and that allows us to offer the other tools at a really great value. And a lot of the equipment is manufactured in-house at ProPitch Sports Labs, so like the rotational resistance equipment, that's all in-house manufactured, porosity rings, stuff like that. And very easy to use. A lot of the tools ground staff will be very familiar with. There's nothing really out of the ordinary in there, maybe other than the traction kit. I'm sure Dino will go into in a little bit more detail, but a different take on traction. It's a device that's FIFA approved for the artificial turf world, and we've kind of modified its use for natural slightly, and what we find is very consistent, repeatable results. The kit comes in a transport box. I think you can see it in the picture there, and then also kind of branded, but you've got an option where the small green square on the right hand side there is to actually bespoke brand it. So if you're a club or if you're a municipality or council, you can actually get your own logo in there, and make it a bit individual for you guys. And we travel a lot, so you're able to take them on the plane, and you can travel around quite easily, and they're pretty easy to travel with. Then to complement that kit, you've got to have a way of gathering data, and the slight video on the right hand side here is going to show you a quick run through of the app that we'll get onto later, some features. But we've got two apps. We've got the Grounds Manager app and the Consultant app. So the Consultant one, Dean and Ian would use to, when they're doing assessments, and Will as well. And then the Grounds Manager app is really the one for the guys on the ground, using the self-assessment kits. Your app works with your kit. It can work with existing kit as well that you have. You're really just using it as a way to record data and then hold your data and then display it in a nice, easy, manageable manner. You live report. So as you upload the data and you finish an assessment, you can upload that. That immediately goes to, it could be a client in your venue, or to yourself, and then you control that data and how you share it. So the ground staff really control the data and who that's distributed to, so you're not being overlooked, so to speak. There's also the ability to do shared assessments. So if you're under tight timescales, you can share the assessment with a colleague, so you can get through the data a little bit quicker. And you've got live consultant chat functions, so you can actually speak to Dean and Ian via the app and the portal and ask opinions, and also chat between members of your team as well. There's a notes function in there for keeping records and diaries, and you can also raise questions within the app. You take a quick photo of something you're maybe not sure of, or you just want to raise as we call them pitch matters, and then the guys can comment on them. We've also got kind of limited API that we tie in with other apps, so there's a bit of weather in there when you're doing the assessments. It holds all your data, and it's really unlimited the number of venues you can add as well. So you can have everything from stadium pitch to training ground, or a whole wide range of municipality fields to go from. I mentioned already, once you complete an assessment, the assessment's essentially ready to share. It immediately downloads into your portal and onto your app as a PDF report, and also as viewable data. So you can download that PDF report and immediately send it from within the app to a colleague or to someone within the stadium, coaching staff, whoever you want to share it with. It's really your report to share. And we've got some screens from the report on the right hand side there, so you can see the front cover, some of the graphs, how we display the data, and also as you go further into the report, really the nuts and bolts, so the data from each location and how it's scored, maybe areas that have scored slightly better or worse, and areas you can really zone in on. And obviously the overall star rating of the pitch. Our 5-star system that we adopt, 5 being world class and coming down the scale. Something that we're looking to introduce shortly to the app is the actual option for bespoke match day reports. So clearly the system can handle match day reports at the moment, but what we're looking to do is make these a little bit more bespoke to stadiums. So if you've got an elite venue and you want to do a match day report, maybe 2-3 hours prior to kickoff, then the report will give you an overview of the pitch on that day. You can share it with the staff, in the stadium, might be coaching staff, manager, strength and performance coaches. It'll provide weather data. The ground staff will have the option to comment on the report, so they can maybe put a little bit in, height your cap, and things like these might be even useful for match delegates that are in the stadium. Just something very quick you guys can produce using data. It's useful data, and it builds up a picture of your pitch on match day over the season. And that's some screens from the kind of concept of that at the moment. And these are some of the screens from the actual portal view. So although you've got an in-app view, you also have an online portal. So when you're sitting back at the laptop, you get time, or if someone in the stadium is looking at the different venues or different pitches, then you can get a very quick snapshot. You'll see the screenshot on the bottom right there. It's color coded. The pitches that are shown 5 stars, 3-star there, 4-star, and also an assessment that's not scored. So just maybe data collection that you don't want to put a star rating to. And that gives you a quick overview of how your pitches are. You might not be that concerned as a stadium manager to go into a 5-star venue because everything's looking okay. But the one at 3-star might, you might want to look into that. You've noticed that there's a little drop off in performance. And then on the top left screenshot there, we've got an overview of the report that you see in the portal. And there you're starting to see your trend graphs coming in. We're comparing there the star rating against the hours of usage. So as you'd expect, maybe the performance of the pitch has dropped off a little bit there as the hours have gone up, and then the hours have gone down and the performance has gone back up. Just a visual representation of how the pitch is performing to try and give an overview. And you can actually click in and interrogate all the different tests with trend graphs, with historic data comparison at different points in time. So at this point, I'll hand you over to Dean, who's going to talk to you really about, once you've gathered the data, what can you do with it, and what does Dean do with it, and then go into a little bit of case studies. And I'm sure there'll be time for questions later on. So thank everyone for that.
Thanks very much, Keith. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to everyone. My name is Dean Glasby. I'm the director of ProPitch, International Pitch Development Manager, basically. I started as a groundsman in 1990, December 1990 as it is, so I'm pretty much just short of 30 years at the moment. I spent several years as a football groundsman, starting at Swansea City Football Club. This was followed by 16 years as a rugby groundsman. Rugby groundsman was not easy until the introduction of the hybrid pitches. For the past 7 years, I've been an international pitch director, a consultant, working for both warm season and cool season grasses. In these past 7 years, I've spent pretty much 3 years over in India, coaching capabilities, training up the ground staff, and how to use the likes of the apps and how to interpret that information as well. I have two loves in my life. Without doubt, it's pitch first, and what I do work-wise, and the family. And it is exactly in that order. I love my job. I love what I do. I love the idea of meeting people around the world. And I love the idea of being able to somehow help these guys improve their standards. So we're going to talk about the app and when you need them, basically. So it's tournament delivery. As Keith rightly said earlier on, tournament delivery, we tend to do some major tournaments, which is the UEFA Club Finals, the Indian Super League, the CAF, the AFC tournaments, FIFA Club World Cup, and we've also done some under-17s stuff as well. So whether it's a FIFA tournament or a UEFA Club Final, we arrive on site approximately 9 to 12 months before the tournament. What we do is we will turn up with the app and with the kit. Particularly with UEFA, we've got a self-assessment kit that these ground staff use, and we will do an assessment on the pitch, but we'll also get the ground staff to use the assessment kit at the same time. So we will train them up to interpret the results, and we'll also then we'll give them the information to train up for the results, but then they'll have to understand what the results mean and how they can then improve the pitch themselves. We'll monitor them. When we do the assessments, we'll be quite transparent in what we do. We'll always explain the reasons behind our assessments as well. So therefore, we have to insist one, the ground staff is there, a member of the stadium is there, or a member of the LOC is present at all times. Throughout the year, then the groundsmen then carry out the self-assessment. So we get assessments of them pretty much every month. With that information, the moment they've uploaded on the app, we can see that information. We then can advise, discuss with the ground staff their findings and what they can do to kind of improve that playing surface. We'll carry out 3 independent assessments throughout the year as well. And what I find particularly interesting about this is the fact that once we've trained up the ground staff to use the app, sorry guys, I'm getting some feedback here. Can somebody switch off the mic? Okay, is that better? Yeah. Right. So we will carry out our 3 independent assessments. But what we see with these independent assessments, the data collated by the ground staff is very similar to the data we've collected. So therefore, they understand the app, they understand what they're doing, they understand the assessments, and they're quite rigorous in their results as well. So it's quite nice to see. At the end of the tournament, what we always try to do is we insist on leaving a legacy. So the ground staff understand and share the ideas that we've already taught them, and we make friendships from that too. Handover. One of the factors that sometimes is overlooked, there are typically 3 parties involved in a handover, especially in new construction. So the contractor building the pitch, the ground staff, and the stadium owners. If a pitch fails, who becomes responsible? What you'll find, and we've seen this as well, I've seen as a groundsman, you'll get a groundsman blaming the contractor if the pitch goes wrong. You'll get the contractor blaming the groundsman if the pitch goes wrong. But the biggest problem you have, if it does fail, and it's going to cost to repair. The people that get caught out are the stadium. So by using this app, it can help mediate and improve the standards of the pitch during the growing period. All parties can monitor the results and agree on the maintenance practices. So match day reporting, as Keith rightly pointed out just now. we're going to use this format for the club final. We actually use this format at the moment for club finals. There's a new adaptation of this format coming out, and we're in the process of developing that. We've used it for the Indian Super League for the last 5 years. We've also used it for the club finals. We then share this information with the venue directors, teams, and referees. Some clubs in the Premiership want to work on this to help improve the awards for the EPL. Now, can we go back a minute, Neil? Sorry. So we've got the PP18, without doubt one of the most underrated assessments we do. The artificial athlete gives us player feedback. It measures the energy restitution, shock absorption, and deformation. Energy restitution tells you how tired on the pitch can be for a player. Shock absorption measures the impact for a player. The Clegg is a great tool, however, it only measures the top 5 mil of the surface. A AAA replicates a players' interaction on the pitch. We had a particularly important final a few years back, a natural pitch. The groundsman had done a fantastic job on the playing surface. It scored 100% on all the agronomy side. It failed the AAA. 2 days before this match, when we carried out this match day -2 assessment, we noticed it failed the AAA. The repercussions of that, when we were speaking to our clients, we said the pitch will become tiring for the players. You'll find the players, it's the end of the season, you'll find the players will start going down early with cramp. And what happened 60 minutes into the game, a couple of players did go down with cramp. We call that match day -2. So that's how important, and to be honest with you, from that day, that's when I realized how good the AAA was. Awards, you can use the app for the awards, and again we've done this very similar in tournament delivery to identify the best pitches. We've also done it for the Indian Super League to identify the best pitches. We're looking at develop this app for certain countries where the ground staff will carry out self-assessments for every match. The scores will be added up and the best pitches awarded to the teams will be awarded to the teams at the end of the year. However, most of these pitches, the best pitches, sometimes may have all the right machinery there, might have reinforcement, might have lights. Instead of, yes, okay, they'll get the recognition for the best pitch, but we'd like to maybe reward the people with the worst pitch, because if you can't improve the standards from below, then you're not going to be able to improve the standards throughout the league then. So we think it's quite important to raise up the standards from below in these venues. So slide 11, we're going to talk about the assessments, the trends of the pitch. The ground staff will upload the data and all the assessments are saved onto the app and ready for review. And if you just look at this slide on the left hand, the picture on the left hand side, you've got the groundsman's done 3 assessments on that particular pitch. He can literally click on any one of them and view the information collated during that period. We've got the score ratings. Following the assessment, the report will give you a score. Each section has a range of 0 to 100%. This range will depend on the assessments itself. So you've got top left on the second picture of the screenshot, you've got playing quality, which consists of AAA, ball rebound, ball roll, evenness and traction. You've got then the next one, physical quality, which is hardness, infiltration and moisture. The other one then is turf quality, which will be grass cover, weeds, roots, thatch, disease, appearance, sward density. So what we tend to do with this is we will have the assessments heavily weighted, and it depends on what you're looking at. I class the Super 6, which will be levels, traction, hardness, infiltration, roots and grass coverage. All these are heavily weighted, so you'll get 10 points for every one of them if you can get within the optimum ranges. If you don't get within the optimum ranges, you do tend to lose the points from that. So it's quite important that you try to get those levels within the optimum ranges. Appearance is also weighted at 10 points, but it's just a visual thing. It's more about player safety than appearance. However, for tournaments, appearance is key factor. You can't go into a Champions League final or a Club World Cup final with the pitch having a very poor appearance but playing well. You want to be trying to make sure that pitch looks like a world-class standard. So you want to make sure it's safe and obviously then the appearances, it comes into that afterwards. So date comparisons, the third picture on the screen. You can see the trends of the pitch throughout the year. We use this to manage expectations. Again, in the UK, we know winter time is going to be your most challenging month. So therefore, we would use this to kind of identify and educate people around you as well, that the pitch isn't going to be as good as it is summertime. It isn't going to be as good as it is during the growing season. So you see the peaks and troughs, you'll see the trends. We know the pitches are going to drop down. And very similar again with some of the tournaments we do, we'll explain to the ground staff, we'll explain to the LOC, we'll explain to the directors that the pitch standards will drop down through the winter. However, we're more than capable, and the ground staff using the app is more than capable of improving those standards. So individual trends, the picture on the right. So again, a great tool to see the trends over the years, using this information to improve your pitch. The trend on this picture itself shows a loss in traction, and you can see there's a red arrow pointing down. The reading is 30.83, which coincides with the usage bar, which is the green bar just around in the back of that. That green bar highlights more usage. So an example for this particular test here is the range. If you look at the range, the grass coverage is lost through usage, therefore affecting the traction values. Loss of grass coverage, maybe you can use this app to improve to purchase a new lichen rig. So over the next couple of slides, we're going to talk about case studies and where the experience of data recording has really benefited. And me as a groundsman as an example here, that the next slide now we're going to discuss about what my experiences was and how I data record. I've always data recorded throughout my life. It might be more of a paranoid groundsman thing, but I actually like the idea of data recording because information is king, as simple as that. So we're going to talk about roots, we're going to talk about the hardness, and we're going to talk about thatch and organic matter. So this was actually my stadium. The top right hand picture there was my stadium in January. I think it was February the 18th. So basically, they identified the starting point. This was a brand new fiber elastic pitch. Fiber elastic pitches have never been used anywhere else in the world up until this particular year. I think it was 2011. Now, the biggest problem with fiber elastic pitch, it was good, but if you didn't have 100% grass and you didn't have root in, you didn't have very much reinforcement there. So this particular picture was taken 18th of February, 23 mil of root mass. So what we had to do then, we had to implement a strategy to try and improve that playing surface. So we recorded the root development throughout the year. It's dropped down come winter time, so we had 24 mil of root mass. So what we had to do is somehow improve that. We actually had a break in the playing season because it's in the UK, you'd have the international season in February and March, which was a bit of a godsend for us. So what we did during this period was aerate the pitch. We aerated the pitch, I think it was 3 times in 4 weeks, and I applied amino acids in that period as well, 4 applications of amino acids. So basically, from the 18th of February to the 23rd of March, we had a 400% increase in root mass, which was 400% increase, and basically up to 150 mil of root mass. If you look at the picture behind, you can see the trends in the pitch. So you've got February and March. You can see that we know, and again through data recording, I know that the roots are going to go down February, March time. So the moment I saw the white roots, I knew if I aerated there or if I apply amino acids, I'm just encouraging that plant to naturally go down. And again, you can see then summertime. So basically the plant is anchoring itself for the summer period. Then you'll find July, it'll shrink back up because of the heat stress, which causes the plant to kind of protect itself. And then September, October, again, I'll start to see white roots. And it's only because I've data recorded this throughout the years that I can see these kind of trends in my playing surface. So therefore, again, come September time, I'd be aerating that pitch. I'd be applying amino acids to try and get those roots down into the ground. I mean, this is the UK. This was my particular stadium at the time, and I used this information to identify the trends in the pitch. What we had then after that was the following year, you could see the roots. We made sure our roots weren't as shallow as what they were going into the winter period. We had more roots. We could use the applications because we knew when that plant was going to go. So every pitch around the world will have a different kind of climate, ecosystem and different climatic conditions within their venue itself. So groundsmen can use this app to identify the moment you saw white roots, you can apply amino acids or aerate to try and promote that root to go down. So this is the Clegg data using the app. What we tend to do is carry out fortnightly readings. We use the app to monitor the firmness of the pitch. So you can see in this picture, in November, there's a handful of matches there, so you can't always aerate throughout the season. It depends on what's around. If we would never recommend you aerating the pitch if you've got a game from in the week then. So if we've got a 2-week break, that's when we kind of suggest aerating. So you see on this picture, you can see December, it just got a little bit firm, up to 100 gravities. Aeration would bring that down, so you can see then middle of February, the compaction had dropped down through aeration, and we've been able to keep the trends fairly low throughout the year. This is by using the app. If you look at slide 15, the next slide, you've got, without using the app, not knowing the firmness values of your pitch could increase the risk of injury to the players. So again, if you don't know the app, the pitch, if you don't use the app and you don't know what the ranges are, you could find the pitch becomes too hard, so it's, again, increasing the risk of the players. Also, by doing this, you might not be able to improve your roots. You might have a problem with the infiltration. So using this, again, to get in the optimum ranges. If we look at the next slide, thatch and organic matter, again, using the app to identify the ranges, monitor your pitch trends. During the growing season, you can regularly scarify or clean the surface with a uni-rig. Remember to always remove the organic matter when you do that. You see in this slide, December, January and February, the thatch has increased. It's only increased 1 or 2 mil, but it's because we would never recommend scarification when the plant is not actively growing. So that's another one that the ground staff using the app has got to understand the climatic conditions as well. You know, if you're in the Scandinavian countries, your window for work will be a lot shorter than this. You wouldn't be able to maybe start scarify from October till maybe end of March. So you understand your environment, using the app to help you kind of guide you to do this. So yeah, so we've got then from February, March, if we go back one, sorry Neil, March, again, we can then get back in the field and start scarifying. So we're trying to clean it out. April, coming to May will be your end of season renovation. So you're covering off that surface, removing all the organic matter. And obviously thatch will improve as your maintenance practices carry on, as players are starting to play on the pitch. So this is an example of without using the app. Thatch becomes too invasive. Player's footing does not interact with the surface itself. If this is a hybrid pitch, if the fibers become buried, then the pitch does not then become is not a hybrid pitch. It becomes a natural pitch. If those fibers are buried because there's too much thatch on that surface, there's no interaction with the footing of the player, so therefore he's more likely to slip, which again could cause injury. So poor traction values will guaranteed cause injury to a player where they're likely to slip. So it's important to monitor the pitch regularly and hopefully keep up your maintenance practices with the use of the app. Having the pitch at the optimum range values always will not only produce a perfect and safe pitch for the players, it will also produce a perfect pitch for the ground staff and the stadium. The next slide. Right. So in brief, using the app can have an unlimited apps. You can have unlimited app support. Your very own in-house consultant, and we pretty much. I'll answer the phone any time of the day. I'm more than happy. I get a row for picking up the phone at 2 o'clock in the morning from my colleagues who've just gone into work in India. I'll get a row for looking at my phone at 4 o'clock in the morning from somebody over in Mexico, for argument's sake. I'll constantly monitor the information coming through to me. I think it's quite key. You can use the information. You can send some photos, and we can then kind of help out with any kind of comments or concerns you have. Again, we can support you. So you're there constantly supporting the ground staff throughout the year, which I think is unrivaled. I don't think there's many other consultancy companies out there that will spend as much time remotely supporting these guys. So a bit of an interesting fact for you as well. I have personally collected over 90,000 data points per year. This is broken down by an average of 100 pitches assessed each year. Tournament delivery always pushes this up, so therefore it could be more during the tournament period. So an average of 15 assessment types with approximately 60 data points recorded during each assessment. So an example is Clegghammer. We have 3 drops in 6 locations. It's 16 data points. Data is king. We'd look to use this data to improve our system. We're always looking to try to involve and try to improve the way we work and the way the standards are going to be met anyway. So therefore, we could use this to share with tournament organizers and again evolve as we go along. So to conclude, the benefits of using the app and the self-assessment system is the app can help identify trends in the pitch, supporting the ground staff and his maintenance techniques. You can also use the app to help get the following then. So help get a new pitch installation, improve drainage systems, reduce training sessions, purchase new machinery, improve fertilizer budgets, or personal additional lighting. So thank you for listening, and now over to my colleague in New Zealand.
Thank you. Cheers, Dean. Thanks. Yeah, so basically just a quick glimpse, if you like, of what we've started working on down here in New Zealand with specifically, obviously, with the ProPitch team. We were, for probably the last year or two, pretty interested in the system, seeing it from afar, seeing it up in the Northern Hemisphere and where it's obviously fully used up there. So we started talking with Keith and Niall and the team at ProPitch about how we could sort of get that system available, or more freely available. It's always been available down here in this part of the world. And through through a series of conversations and an agreement was signed quite recently, that we were happy to announce that we were now making ProPitch widely available and promoted around this part of the world. So obviously there's a few guys already using the system, New Zealand and Australia, but yeah, it was good to have the opportunity today just to join the lads and talk a little bit more about one particular case study, I guess, we've got going in the last month or two down here in New Zealand, which is with Hamilton City Council, and just explain briefly why they opted for the app and the system. So Hamilton City is just down the road from us here in Auckland. It's the largest, it says here, the largest inland city in New Zealand. Around 43 or so dedicated sports parks. That's on the up significantly, and that was a big driver for the guys at Hamilton to sort of start talking to us about what they could do around monitoring, and I guess it's more the benchmarking aspect of the ProPitch system that appealed most to all of us. Hamilton are in a transitional period, if you like, between the traditional soil-based primary drain field system of the last 20, 30, 40 years, and now moving forward into every time they do upgrades and renewals, now we're looking at sand-based systems, primary, secondary drainage, in line with the expectation of the players, the clubs, the community, and the growing population down there. So the ProPitch tool provided us with a really good option to present to the guys at Hamilton, because historically you're tending to go down the motorway maybe once a month or more frequently in the growing season, look at a specific problem, eyeball it, come back, get back to your desk, upload photos, write a report. It's time consuming, there's a time lag, it's not cost effective for anyone. And what ProPitch offered us with Hamilton was that ability to be able to do that all remotely. So the Hamilton guys, it's a small team, but they're a very proactive team and they're a well-qualified team. So they're out there, they're collecting data, they're out there collecting the information that then can go into the portal, into the app, and we can all view it. And with this particular case study, the relationship we have with Hamilton is really close. We've got a lot of mutual interests, and we all want to see the city's sports and rec facilities developing. And so we provide a twice yearly report where we kind of summarize all that data that's been uploaded into the portal, and produce a brief overview, if you like an executive summary for council to then pass around, and for the guys in the team down there to be able to start justifying budgets, ongoing resources, and what's key to them. Sorry, no, next slide, please. What's key to them down there is managing the capacity. So it's a little bit of an unknown. I mean, the city's growing, and that's kickstarted this move away, obviously, as I said just earlier, from the soil-based traditional kind of sports field. But it's still a little unknown as to how much investment's required. What's the A-star spec down there? Do they need to go full bore with sand carpets? Do we need sand slit drainage? That's the model, and that's the sort of goal we're working towards. But where ProPitch is invaluable to the team down there is that over the years we can build, and they can build data, objective data up that can be ripped apart, looked at, pulled apart, certain aspects pulled out, and probably the most important thing for them is usage. So hours of use versus it might be hardness, surface hardness, or hours of usage versus surface covering, or hours of use versus species, because there's some discussion we've got going to and fro about, do we go warm season? Do we start trialing some warm season grass species in Hamilton, which we do quite widespread up here in Auckland and Northland. So the idea of a system like ProPitch for us here is that we're quite disparate. No one's really that close to each other. Once you get out of the big centres like Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch, everyone's quite provincial, and it just, as I said earlier, it just isn't cost effective necessarily to be going to Napier, Hamilton, right up far north, down to the South Island to look at specific issues. Whereas a system like ProPitch, what we're finding in our early stages with the team at Hamilton, and what we're hoping to find with more councils in particular as we talk to them around New Zealand, is it's giving us that ability to just constantly communicate with the client about the condition of certain issues, certain pitches and issues with relating to them, and also just having that whole overview of the asset. So it's really valuable for a country like us. We're a small country, but like I say, we're very spread out within that small geography, and this is a game-changing tool for us in that respect, especially as consultants. One thing that's pictured here, oh sorry sorry, no. One thing that's quickly pictured here is that when we went down in this part of the world, because we are quite small and we're tight knit and we know each other, it's a tight sector, we tend to try and provide an induction or some sort of workshop when we hand over the system. So the images on the right hand side of this slide were when the Hamilton guys came up, and we just kind of wanted to, we don't just want to, it's an awesome kit and it looks great, but if you haven't got that previous experience, you can open up the box and think, well, what am I going to do with all these toys? So just synergizing how they work with the app, and how best to get that initial ball rolling, if you like, with the client. We find that doing a 1 day or half a day induction sort of little workshop worked really well. Sorry, next slide, please, Noel. And then just expanding on that, linked to the fact that we do have, as I say, a very sort of spread out territory here in New Zealand. we also have a very popular model of maintenance contracting. So that can be not just council fields, that's right through to stadiums. And we have that again in Hamilton, and we have it in Auckland. So under Auckland, we've got some of the larger stadiums. We've got like Mount Smart, Trust Arena, QBE, which is mentioned here, Western Springs. There's Eden Park, but Eden Park is separate and outside of the RFA at the moment. So the idea there being that ProPitch would be absolutely ideal, and that's what we're working on at the moment with the RFA as a tool to cross-monitor against all those different venues. So they're international venues at different times of the year. They hold All Black tests. The Warriors might be playing there. They host concerts. So it's really important that, and they're all in their own little micro environment, which is quite important as well. Auckland's very, very finicky like that. So it's really important to have that cross spread of the data, again, available to the guys that are managing these on the ground under the single maintenance contract. Okay. Thanks, Niall. So yeah, under a maintenance contract, whether it's construction maintenance or day-to-day maintenance, we think that the ProPitch system just offers the contractor in particular a really good point of difference. You know, we're a competitive industry. Post all this madness we're going through now with the pandemic, we're even more competitive. And when tenders come up for renewal, adding something like this as I guess as an internal value add, if you like, for a contractor, especially down in this part of the world, can be really significant. And it can be a really good way of showing transparency in the whole quality assurance side of the contract. And so that's what we're working on as well in the background with a couple of larger maintenance contractors around New Zealand, and we're just having discussions with them about how this could work and who would be responsible for the initially the purchase and then the ongoing operation of it. So a really wide, broad spectrum of uses in a small, relatively small territory like we have here. I think it's, like I said earlier, it is definitely proving to be quite a game changer with what we can do and what we can offer our clients up and down the country, whereas before it was quite inaccessible. And yeah, thank you. Oh, sorry, this was mine as well. Slick. Yeah, so yeah, we have got a demonstration kit. So the guys up north were really good. They agreed that we could hold a demonstration kit here in New Zealand. Look, the demonstration kit, we've already used it for the induction Hamilton City. I'm taking it round the South Island actually next week to a couple of venues and councils to have a bit of a play with and a look at. And again, although at the moment we couldn't physically take that kit over to Aussie, we're more than happy virtually to talk guys through the kit, work through the app and just have a bit of a workshop virtually, unfortunately, at the moment. But it's really good just to be able to see it and to understand. I mean, it's just awesomely put together. That's the first feedback we always get, is the kit is really impressive. And we've actually got guys interested in that kit, not necessarily even interested in the app. They're interested in the kit because it's something that's an all-in-one, non-stop, one-stop shop for them to chuck in the back of the truck, take around and do multiple assessments of multiple venues using. So that's a really good resource we've got to offer down here as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Keith, Will and Dean. Some great detail there, and not just talking about our kit and our app, really talking about the intricacies of agronomy and what you're doing to try and fix pitches with data, which is one of the big keys. If you can measure it, you can manage it, and that's our mantra as a company. So what we're going to do is we're going to split into questions. We've got quite a few coming in through the system. So I'll go with the first one. What data are groundmen using in Oz and New Zealand at the moment? So that's probably one for Will. So Will, what are the guys doing down south at the moment in terms of data?
Unmute. The main data we're catching is it's traditionally it's soil nutrient, surface hardness is coming into it more and more now with the elite athlete. But it's been, yeah, soil nutrient, organic matter, and surface infiltration. They tend to be the main sort of parameters we look at with the stadiums in particular. And like I say, shear testing and surface hardness have in the last 2 or 3 years started to become more and more significant just through the expectations of guys like the All Blacks, especially down this part.
Well, when you're playing at that level, well, you need to be playing on the best pitches. So I think we need to improve our pitches to reach the level of the All Blacks. The next question we have is one, probably Keith can take this one, talking about, can you do just a Clegg and porosity test rather than full suite of testing?
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, I think we explained in the slides earlier that the system's pretty flexible in terms of the assessments you can do. So, you know, if you want to just set up a Clegg or porosity test, and that's not a problem at all. We load into the app and the portal a standard set of assessments. But with any of our clients, if you get in touch with us by the app or, you know, email or phone or whatever, we can certainly load in bespoke assessments to suit your needs. That's not a problem at all.
Okay, thank you, Keith. A good one here for Dean to maybe answer. It's about the historical evolution of the testing standards with the ProPitch system. So basically, where did it come from, Dean? If you can give us a snapshot in 30 seconds.
30 seconds, good luck with that. We started 2008. One of the directors that originally started the company was a guy called Nick Smith. He was a physiotherapist. So we used the old data from some of our competitors, the STRI. I mean, Dr. Stephen Baker, I think it was 1984, set up the Clegg Hammer standards. But as we've gone along, we've worked with physios, we've worked with players, we've also worked with what's optimum for us as groundsmen. So we've kind of evolved this test. If you look at our optimum ranges, ours is the narrowest of all. It's between 70 and 85. Now there are parameters just outside that, which is 65 to I think it's 95, which is quite acceptable as well. We have no issues with them being there. So our competitors are maybe 60 to 90 for their optimum, but ours are a little bit tighter because we're trying to make it a little bit more elite, a little bit more difficult to become a 5-star venue for major tournaments. So it's just evolved, and what we're hoping with all this data that we get from these groundsmen and all this kind of these uploads through the app, that we'll be able to evolve and maybe get player perception feedback going forward as well, where we can then evolve and improve the, you know, it might need to become harder, but we don't know until we get that feedback from the players and people who are using the app.
I think that's a really good point, Dean. A lot of leagues and governing bodies are using the player perception app to merge with the testing data. So that's already available with the Sports Labs group, and it's something that really complements the testing data to help make decisions. So we're evolving our understanding.
100%. Sorry, mate. Yeah, 100%. I agree with you.
Yeah. So the next one we've got, Keith, maybe one for you. Cost of the kit and how long to get it, and obviously another question about the app. So how much to get on the app? So maybe you can cover them at the same time.
Yeah, not a problem. So cost-wise, I think we said earlier it was quite competitively costed, or we feel that certainly. So you've got two kit options. You've got a what we call standard kit, and then you've got a premium kit. And really, the difference between the two is the moisture meter that's in one. So in the standard kit, you've got a TDR 150, and in the premium kit, you've got the Pogo Turf Pro. So the standard kit's coming in 5245, so £5,245, and the premium kit's in at 6,600. That being said, if you hold equipment at the moment, so if you've got Clegg Hammer, for example, we will discuss with you, we can omit the Clegg Hammer and adjust the cost. So, you know, there's a little bit of flexibility in there that we're not expecting you to buy a new Clegg if you've already got Clegg, and likewise with moisture meters and stuff like that. Lead time, sorry. We hold a certain amount of stock, but being honest, we've actually had a really good uptake on kits. You know, Will's been saying there's a lot of interest in New Zealand and that. We've sold a lot of kits recently. So, you know, with COVID-19, we've found a big uptake in people looking to get guys on site and remote monitor and also self-assess. So normally we'd like to think about a week, and the reason that it's a week is if we bespoke the kit, we get a plaque made up, and it just takes a little bit of time to obviously get your logo and then get that sent out if we're holding all the equipment. When demand's high, then obviously we rely on kind of third-party suppliers where we're buying Clegg Hammers from, and your lead times can move to kind of 2 to 3 weeks, within a little bit of shipping time as well, depending on the level of kit that we're holding. But I mentioned earlier, we make a lot of the kit ourselves, so all that's held in-house. It generally is a third party we're waiting on. to get equipment in, but 2 to 3 weeks as a standard, and it can be quicker than that. For the app and the portal, again, you've got two options. You've got what we call ProPitch Insight and ProPitch Consult. So ProPitch Insight is a kind of a basic version of the app where you data collect and you get all the features, you get the trend graphs, everything like that. But what you don't have is the support of our consultancy team. So like Dean and Ian and Will, and you know, the guys around the world. We then have ProPitch Consult, which is kind of like the full package. And that is the same, all the features, but what you do get is like Dean and Ian will look in on the reports. So once you submit an assessment, they might evaluate it, they might notice a kind of trend in your data and offer their advice. And you can obviously ask them questions and stuff like that as well in the app. Cost-wise for that, you're looking at, for ProPitch Insight, is £35 a month. And that covers 5 venues. It's about a stadium and 4 training grounds. And then if you pay another £5 a month for each additional 5 venues. And then for the consult, it's £120 a month. That covers 1 venue, and then you pay an additional £5 for each additional venue after that. So, you know, if you've got 3 venues, you'd be up to £130 a month, and so on. And that's really how the pricing works on it. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much, Keith. And the apps are downloadable on the apps on both the Android or Google Store and the Apple Store. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. So both on iOS and on Android, and then all your standard internet browsers for the online portal.
Okay. Thank you very much, Keith. That's great. The final question, a good one, Will, is you're ahead of us. So what's the weather like down under, and what are we expecting tomorrow?
Yeah, it's not great actually. Sorry, mind you, yeah, if you're looking for rain, yeah, there might be a bit around, but it's still quite chilly here.
It's study in the background with you.
Yeah, oh, it's beautiful here. Yeah, this is my bit for New Zealand tourism.
never mind the weather. What's the lottery numbers?
But on a more serious note, listen, guys, thank you for presenting tonight, and we thank everyone for joining us. There will be an availability to download the webinar and watch it after, so you can get in contact with us. There's also Ian Craig and our other partners around the world that you might be in contact with already. Any questions, don't hesitate to ask. We're going to leave you with a short video, and have a good evening or good morning. Goodbye.